Hi guys, welcome to Dubs Only Sports. We're gonna get straight into it. This is episode 30 now. The MLB spring training is here. MLB is finally back. It has didn't really feel like that long, to be honest. It kind of came by really quickly. I mean, with all the trades, it feels like we've been talking about MLB since it ended. So
Yeah.
it's back. And one of the big things that we are noticing, and something that my friend Dylan here has a big issue about, is this pitch clock. And if for those of you who don't know, the MLB really wants more people to be intrigued and watch the games. But one of the big problems is that people say that A, baseball is too boring, and B, baseball is boring because it's too long. So MLB commissioner and a lot of people around the league were like, okay, well, how do we combat that? And one of those things is introducing a pitch clock, which essentially limits the amount of time that pitchers and hitters have to get prepared, get ready in order for the at bat, in order ready for the pitch, whatever it is. And people like Dylan are not taking this very well right now. And so, I mean, we've seen tons of examples already. I mean, we're not even a week into spring training yet. We're basically a weekend into spring training. And we've seen what, maybe like at least.
Bro, I got it. I got it, bro. This is absolutely ridiculous what is going on. This rule, the pitch clock is going to ruin baseball. This is a terrible rule by Rob Manfred. He's a terrible commissioner. He needs to leave. They need to replace him. This is an absolute joke what is going on right now. So the MLB decided that because they did a terrible job promoting the sport over the last 20 years and they have terrible TV contracts that lead to blackouts in certain areas, that now what they're going to do is that to increase the viewership, they're going to add a rule which basically says that you have to throw a pitch within 20 seconds and the batter needs to be within the box in I think like 12 or 13 seconds, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't follow that rule, if the pitcher doesn't follow that rule, then they get a ball called against them. And if the batter doesn't follow that rule, then they get a strike called against them. Okay. This is an absolutely terrible rule. We've already seen it in spring training do these terrible things. It was I forgot which game it is. I think it was Braves Red Sox, right? It's the
Yeah.
bottom of the ninth inning. Tie game, 6-6, bases loaded, 2 outs, 3-2 count. Guess what happened? Pitch clock violation, game over. I swear,
On the
this
hitter too. On the
on the
hitter
hitter
too.
too. On the hitter too. And there's so many different problems with this rule. The first issue with this rule is that it's subjective between who's causing the delay, the pitcher or the hitter. Because sometimes the batter doesn't get in the box in time because the pitcher is taking a long time. The other thing is sometimes the pitcher waits a little bit because the batter isn't in the box. And it's also like baseball players have a routine. It's the most routine oriented sport out of any sport. It's a completely different sport to many other sports just because of the nature of the game, right? And to throw these players' routines off just because they want to speed up the game, the NFL has way more downtime than the MLB. The reason that the MLB is not popular is not because of the time between pitches or all that stuff. The reason that the MLB is not popular is that they play 162 meaningless games. Then they play a 5 game series in the playoffs. And let's say you have a great season, you win 100 games, you make the wild card, you could get bounced within a game. That's why people don't watch the MLB is because they have a 162 game season, which means absolutely nothing. And then the playoffs just start. The playoffs have good viewership. Everyone watches the playoffs. No one watches the regular season because it's meaningless and tons of the teams are totally irrelevant. There's usually in the MLB only like 10 to 15 teams that are actually relevant. That's the problem. The other problem with the MLB is that they have terrible TV contracts that don't allow people to watch every single game. And they don't get a lot of national broadcasting time, unlike the NBA and unlike the NFL. So that's the main problem with the MLB. Instead of facing the root of the issue, they're implementing this stupid pitch clock rule. Okay, so let's say we're watching the World Series, right? Game 7 of the World Series, bottom of the ninth inning, a team is down 3-2, right? Bases are loaded, big moment, could determine who wins the World Series, right? Let's say that the pitcher accidentally takes 21 seconds to deliver the pitch instead of 20 seconds to deliver the pitch. Oh no, tie game. Oh no, tie game. Let's say in that same scenario, let's say it's 3-2, still go back, say it's the same scenario. Let's say the hitter accidentally takes 8 seconds to get in, or 13 seconds to get in the box instead of 12 seconds to get in the box. Oh, game over. You lose the World Series because you didn't get the box in time. What? What? Don't we want to see the best competition in baseball? Don't we want to see the best athletes playing the sport of baseball compete and try to see who's the best? No, 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 no. We need this pitch clock to be implemented to be, oh yeah, you take 12 seconds? No, 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 no. 11 seconds. No, 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 no. 12. It's so stupid. I can't just wrap my head around this. Another point that someone brought up is that this could lead to more injuries. In the MLB, pitchers have never been throwing faster than they do right now. They throw 100 miles an hour, and usually they're on a routine where they throw a pitch, they wait 20 seconds, they get their gatherings, and they throw it again. If you're making a pitcher throw 95-mile-an-hour fastballs every 10 seconds, then it puts a lot more stress on their arm in a shorter time frame. Their muscles are not able to recover between the pitches, and it could lead to more injuries. And you know what? The MLB talk about viewership. Who would you rather watch? Who would you rather watch? Would you rather watch Jacob DeGrom or Andrew Heaney? Jacob DeGrom. But no, he's going to get injured in this scenario. Let's say he gets injured in this scenario. You don't get to watch him pitch. Let's say that Justin Verlander gets injured. Let's say Max Scherzer gets injured. Let's say any of these good pitchers get injured. These big players are what drives baseball, and you're just going to say, "Oh no, it's fine. You could just have another pitcher replace them." It's so stupid to me. I just don't understand how the MLB makes. I don't understand what Rob Manfred thinks he's doing. I don't understand how he comes to the conclusions that he does. I mean, he literally, this sport is just on a downward spiral, and like you have all these things where like players celebrate and they get mad at that. They get mad at like they're not up with to date with the trends. They don't understand it. Like you see the NBA, the worst thing in the NBA right now is the load management, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the worst thing in the NBA. Everyone else thinks the NBA is great. The NBA also has a 2-month postseason, and everyone watches that because it matters. In the
Mm-hmm.
MLB, you have a 1-month postseason, which is where everyone watches the MLB. And then why not extend the postseason in baseball? Why not make it a longer postseason? There's no reason that you play 162 games and your season comes down to a 5-game series in the end of the year. That makes no sense. That makes absolutely no sense. Same thing. Like 2 years ago, the Dodgers had 106 wins. And since they lost their division by 1 game, they had to play in the wild card game. And if they lost that to the Cardinals, which they didn't, if they lost it, they would have been sent home. Imagine an NBA team. Imagine an NBA team. Imagine the Warriors, the 73-9 Warriors, having to play a 1-game play-in to get into the playoffs. That would never happen. That would never happen because they get to play. Even the 8 seed gets to play 4 7-game series to make it to the finals. And in the MLB, they're like, nah, we're gonna have the top whatever. Now the rules are the top 12 teams make the playoffs, and 3-game wild card series. You play 162 games, right, in the regular season, 162. But then a 3-game series is going to determine your fate. That's a good idea. And you know why they're doing this? You know why they're doing that rule? They're doing that rule because they're having these playoffs with shorter series to make sure that these smaller teams have a chance to win the World Series, and teams that didn't do as well in the regular season win the World Series, like the Phillies last year. But the reason that that's the issue is because they don't have a salary cap. They don't have a base salary. They don't have any restrictions on how much the owners can pay. I mean, we have the Pirates having a payroll of $40 million, and we have the Padres giving out $40 million to 10 different players. So that's the problem. They don't address in the MLB. The commissioner doesn't address the problems. He just like patchwork. I'm disgusted by this rule. If they want to ban the shift, perfectly fine. I don't love it because I feel like it's kind of stupid that you're just bailing hitters out, but I understand it. It makes sense. It's a fine rule. Banning the shift, perfectly fine. This a pitch clock in general is not the issue. It's the way that it's being implemented where it's like, oh, any time in the game, like let's say it's the last inning of the game, they're like, yeah, strike 3, the game over. Like, who in their right mind would watch a baseball game for 2.5 hours and would like to see it end on a pitch clock violation? You think that that's going to help viewership? Yeah, people might watch the first 3 games for 2.5 hours, and then when the third game ends on a pitch clock violation, they'll be like, I don't want to see the sport ever again. So, I mean, we'll see how this rule goes. I really don't like it at all, but my opinion right now doesn't matter. Maybe it will in the future, but right now it doesn't matter. But I do not like this rule at all. It's an absolute travesty. Baseball, it's sad because we play baseball our whole lives. We love the sport, but it's just going downhill. And it's just sad because it has so much potential and it's been a big sport forever. And now to just see it like struggling like this is just it's not good. But yeah, I mean,
I'm like kind of on the fence about it. Like I can kind of see both ways. Like your argument about like, imagine if it's game 7 of the World Series, you've got bases loaded, 3-2 count, and the game, the winning run is on third base, and the game ends on a pitch clock violation. Like, yeah, that would be pretty shit. And if
would you ever watch an MLB game ever again if that happened? Like that's terrible.
I mean, I would just be like, wow, like again, I would be like, wow, I really watched an 160 game season just for it to end on a pitch clock violation. Like,
Exactly.
whatever.
I watched my team. Let's say it's the Dodgers. I watched my team 180 games get to the World Series,
Yeah.
play great the whole year for their season to end on a fucking pitch clock violation. Oh my god, bro. It's
Yeah, like,
absolutely terrible.
like it definitely is like something to think about and it's, something to chew on. But I just feel like, like the other side of that is yes, like, like we've known people and like, people that we went to school with
Yeah,
or
yeah.
people that we just knew in general. And like the question would be like, oh, you guys should watch baseball or just like watch sports. And they'd be
Yeah.
like, well, we don't want to. And it's like, well, why not? And they're like, well, baseball's boring and it's so
Yeah.
long. And we're like, yes. And I've
Yeah,
said
we're totally
way
agree.
more than enough times that I'd much
Yeah.
rather play baseball than actually watch it because sometimes
Yeah.
it can just get so brutal that there's no point. But I was at a college game a couple of weeks ago, and I went to a doubleheader, and then I went to the following game, right? And all three of those games, to be fair, they all went by relatively quickly, and I honestly enjoyed watching the games more with the pitch clock in place. Now for college, they've been dealing with the pitch clock for a while now, so it's just to a point where now they're used to it, and I feel like what the MLB is expecting. And I feel like it's just kind of like ripping the band-aid off in a sense. Like
Yeah.
they introduced this pitch clock so raw to the MLB, like they didn't even give a chance for pitchers to actually like MLB pitchers
Yeah.
to get used to
They're
it.
just like,
Whereas like in 5 or 6 years time where we have, these college guys playing in the MLB, they will already be used to it. And I mean, it's
that's
been
true.
implemented in the minor leagues. It's been implemented in college for a couple of years now, at least. So, I feel like it's more for these young guys coming into the league than it is for the guys that are already in the MLB. So for the
Mhm.
pitch clock, like I can see it both ways. I'm just in the middle on it. Like I like
Yeah.
it because it does speed up the game. For me, it makes it
Yeah.
more enjoyable. Like actually going to three separate games, and on all three games, I had a blast. It was a great time watching the games just because it was going by a lot quicker. And college games are just exceptionally better, anyways, because it's a lot of
Yeah.
offense and not a whole lot of defense,
But
and that's what I love.
in my opinion, it's the kind of thing like in the NBA, there's a thing where you have to shoot a free throw within 10 seconds, right?
Yeah,
But sometimes Giannis would take like 11 seconds, but they wouldn't call it. They'd like leave it.
yeah,
But like it's close. It's like, but my problem is in baseball, whenever it's like 7.9 seconds, or it's like let's say the rule is 12 seconds for the batter to get it. If it's like 12.1, they're like strike. Like give them some leeway. Like
yeah.
they like it doesn't need to be perfect. The whole point is to speed up the game. If it's a point like 2 second violation, let it be. It doesn't matter. You don't have to call it.
Because
It's the kind
because
of
if
thing where
anything,
like you
that'll
have
slow down the game. Like,
exactly you if you call the thing, it takes another 15 seconds to do another pitch. So it's like, in my opinion, to want to speed up the game is okay, and to have the pitch clock is okay. But it's a difference between enforcing the rules very strictly and loosely just to get the game to like. If the game ends in 2 hours and 32 minutes instead of 2 hours and 30 minutes because you let a few pitch clock violations go, just leave it be. If you, of course, if the pitch clock it says 20 seconds you have to deliver a pitch and you take 25, that's too much. But if you take 21, 22, it's fine. It's
yeah,
this. It's basically the same thing. Like I don't understand why they're doing it so stringently, but that's basically it. I just wanted to get that off my chest. I think it's terrible. We'll see how it goes.
yeah.
Everyone's probably gonna love it for the beginning of it because they're gonna be like, "Oh my god, the game is quicker!" And then when the games actually matter, we'll see how they feel. But
Yeah, postseason
yeah,
is definitely going to be
yeah,
interesting with this because there are going to be a lot of
yeah,
games that like because
yeah,
sometimes it's all the difference in like how
yeah.
many times
The
have we
smallest
seen?
margins in baseball make
Yeah,
the thing.
how many times
Baseball, the
have we seen
smallest margins, bro.
like
So
a
yeah, I
team
we'll
with
see
like
how it
two
goes.
outs, they
Yeah,
walk someone, and then
yeah,
they just get momentum
yeah.
off of a walk. So
Walks are a
yeah,
big deal. That's the thing. It's a big deal. So everyone's underestimating it now, but we'll see how it goes. But that's
yeah.
gonna do it for this episode. We'll get into more
Yep.
MLB later, but spring training is happening right now,
There's not a lot
and
we can do. Like we're just
nothing
waiting for the
nothing right
season to
now we can
start.
do. Yeah, we have to wait for the season to start. Long
But
ass
yeah,
season. But that's
yeah,
gonna do it for this episode. Make sure to
yeah.
follow us on Instagram, on TikTok, subscribe on YouTube and Spotify. It's at Dubs Only Sports on all platforms, and we're going to the moon. So just make sure to join early and
Join early. What is this? A subscription? Do they get a 3 month trial?
and then we need to make some videos for you guys about like some of the bloopers and also some of the funniest comments that we have.
Yeah,
That's gonna be some funny stuff.
we might have to do an all around big thing on
Yeah,
that because there have been, you guys have been
some
saying
crazy
a lot
stuff.
of stuff. And for me personally, I've just like never been that guy to like scroll through Instagram or TikTok and be like, oh, I need to comment on this video. Like I'll see Skip Bayless say something or
And,
Stephen
and
A.
they
Smith say something, and I'll just be like,
and
oh,
you're just
well,
like
they're
whatever.
wrong.
Yeah. But
But
then people in our
some of
videos are
you
like,
guys,
they need to get their opinion across. So it's
yeah,
like it's funny.
if,
We like it. We like the engagement.
we
So
love you guys.
we'll, we love you guys. We'll get that stuff out to you soon. But peace out for now.
Peace out, guys.